Alright, I'm up to the challenge. Who's ready for the hardest selection of challenges but in forms of the most difficult games of the lineup? Well, I'm pretty sure I can accept the fact. Hey, what is up ladies and gentlemen, I'm Sonic the Hedgehog here and I'm back for some more of the Maxi Toys videos. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my Let's Play of NES Remix 2 for the Nintendo Wii U eShop download. So last time we actually been completely done with Remix 1 set of stages, and as you can see, I've pretty much got through 100% completion in the forms of that catalog. So even I know, like, you know, Rainbow Stars rankings in addition to those 3-star rankings as well. Well, to be more specifically, by the forms of the Rainbow Stars runs. So even then, yeah, pretty perfect for that, mind you. So anyways, for today, for this episode, folks, is the fact that we're going to be starting things off with the forms of, the second half of the forms of a divisional games lineup. So let's get started right here by the forms of a, once again, double duos of platforming games, which we're actually going to be starting off with both Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels and possibly Kid Icarus eventually. So even then, that way we can able to actually deal with probably the most toughest platforming games we've ever going to be coming across into. Which even then, you can definitely tell why when we get into that. So now, we've already experienced by the forms of Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels before, by the forms of, you know, Mario and Luigi did manage to tackle for this game in, you know, Super Mario All-Stars compilation game. And, seems that those two plumbers did have a really hard time on that game, because you know how the fact that that game is remarkably similar to how it does in the original Super Mario Bros., except the level design is completely different, to make it a little bit more, almost like a Kaizo type of game like that, among with the forms of, well, that was before when Kaizo Mario World exists, in the forms of the actual computer mods or something like that. But anyways though, so we've done the first stage already, so thankfully though, Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels only retained 7 stages because of how the fact that how this game is incredibly unforgiving for most of those international players, including myself included. Well, I do notice how the fact that, well, this game only came out on a Famicom disk system from Japan, which I understand that because of the hardcore gamers who have first experienced the original Super Mario Bros., but decided to make the game even a lot more harder than the likes of the original game, because of how the fact that with the control issues I had with the first game, and especially noticeable how the fact that, well, most of these powerful enemies, it did automatically appear right from the get-go this time around though, by the forms of, well, the most annoying enemies of them all is definitely Hammer Brother, because fudge those guys, because even then, they really trying to get into you with no sweat. So anyways though, we got ourselves a Piranha Plant stamp, so that's pretty cool. Dash with X or B to clear the gap is pretty easy to jump through. And use the trampoline to get safety, or in this case safely over the wall. So yeah, if you fell into the water right there, you automatically failed this particular task. So I will say though, is that the NES presentation of the forms of the NES version, or in this case the Famicom disk system of Super Mario Bros. 2, or in this case Super Mario Bros. 2 The Lost Levels, mind you, sorry for a little bit of a tangent right there. I will say though, is the fact that the graphical design in the forms of this particular game looks very cool. I mean, sure, it plays exactly like, and visually structured is very similar to the likes of Super Mario Bros. The original. And yeah, this is the one of those moments how the fact that most of the people get really frustrated with this game sometimes, probably because of how the fact that, you know, these warp zones, they'd be very handy for you if you manage to able to actually skip the entire portions of the actual worlds themselves, or even especially some regular levels and all that stuff. Well, take the forms of Worlds 3-1 for example. If you manage to accidentally go all the way to the right, thanks to that green spring, if you manage to able to realize how the fact that we can't go back because of how the fact that we have to continuously moving, because, you know, the screen itself is constantly locking through if you manage to able to continuously go to the right. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. I always get hit by Koopa Troopers or even just enemies themselves. Oh, speaking of the devil. So, yeah, there's not much else I can really tell when it comes to news, updates, and all that stuff, because even then, though, that we're actually going to be tackling through, both, you know, Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels and Kid Icarus. Now, I wish I was going to be tackling through both Zelda 2 The Adventure of Link or Punch-Out, or even especially noticeable for Metroid, but I might as well do those in a different sort of ordering pick, but even I know that's as far as I can actually concept with this, so... Collect the super mushroom. It's been a while since I actually come across into some of these challenges like this, and in fact I've accidentally ran into these Goombas so easily, because, you know, it's just how the fact that I can't really get out of these little tiny gaps, or in this case, these little tiny holes and all that stuff, which even I know, sometimes the enemies themselves will always get in my way, so... Enter the second pipe. Because normally if you're able to actually do a speed run in this game, well, you not only do you able to actually just manage to able to skip the entirety of World 9, because in order to actually get World 9, is the fact that you have to complete all of the regular levels instead of taking, the warp zones, because if you do, then there's no way you can get yourselves a, World 9 accessible by the forms of the Famicom Disk System. Now, there's also, you know, the 4 other special worlds by the forms of worlds A through D, but even then though, in the Super Mario All-Stars, you have to beat the game once, and then bam, it transport you to World A. And in the original version, you have to beat the game 8 times in a row until you success with this, because even then, that's a multitasking right there. And we've got a boom boom stamp right there. So, nicely done for this part, so... Now let's move on to stage 5. Seems more accurately, we've almost done with Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels, and then we move on to Icarus up next. So, obviously, this game did came out of, well, specifically Super Mario Bros. The Lost... You son of a... God, I really hate run into enemies easily, especially with Goombas on the staircases. We'll try that again. I did not expect that, so screw you, like a two. Jeez. What is this, like a reference to something related to a Smosh, older episodes, but in forms of, the Voodoo doll, that, Anthony Padilla managed to have some struggle with, but in forms of level 4-1, that the forms of he keep on getting killed by the forms of the Lakitu, or in this case, that little total cloud guy, as well as he's actually pronounced for that self, so, yeah, that's why I was like, oh, I did not expect to be able to actually make to the leaps of faith there. Well, good thing we're actually playing as Luigi though, because even then though, he can actually able to jump higher, and then also that he does have some little bit of a slippery traction he's got, which, even then though, that might be seems a little bit more insufficient, mind you, so let's go ahead and get to the goal pole. It's so hard to tell of what the judge of the distance is. Well, I do know, understand of how the fact that during about a year ago, that, you know, both Mario and Luigi did manage to tackle for this game and during about a year ago, which is far to this point because if you know, Super Mario All-Stars compilation, so, and I failed on that, so that's a bit terrific. So, anyways though, as far as I was gonna be saying, this game did manage to first came out in the forms of, you know, 1986, around the same year as when, the first of the Legend of Zelda game did came out for, not only for the Nintendo Entertainment System, but also Nintendo's Famicom Disk System for Japan. Because even though it does have some little bit of a different audio clips between, you know, the Famicom Disk System, so for a little bit of a, my tongue twistings at the end, folks. So we've actually unlocked stages 19 and 20. So we've actually unlocked all of the stages now in Remakes 2. So even then, we'll get to those after we actually tackle through 5 of those games at this point. But in forms of, well, Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels, which we're doing right about now. And especially Kid Icarus, which we'll get to later. And especially noticeable with Zelda 2 The Adventure of Link. And especially noticeable with Punch-Out in the next video, which I'll say that right about now. And I'll save Metroid for last before we jump into Remakes 2 selection of stages, because I just feel like it. So, and after Remakes 2, then we're pretty much going to be moving on to the final catalog. Oh, it did slip off. Which is the forms of the bonus stages, because, you know, we'll get to those until we're able to actually... Stop showing me that, you stupid super guide circular outline. Jeez. Yes, I already know what I'm doing, so stop showing me that. Even though it's really hard to tell to able to actually jump at the right time with Luigi though, because all of his, you know, slippery traction, even with his greasy shoes and all that stuff, can really mess you up with your movements and stuff like that sometimes. I will admit though, right away though, but I digress. So, yeah, with that being said though, it's the fact that what I found is kind of odd is that, normally you get yourselves, when it comes to NES Remakes 2, whenever you're first time playing the game, in the forms of that specific challenges compilation game, Normally you start things off, you son of a... Jeez, I really hate this super guides option. Why should it just be... You gotta be kidding me. I'm having a really hard time for this point. Stop showing me that! For crying out loud! I already know where it is! Jeez, why is there no an option to able to disable that super guide option? I know it's a little bit of a more accurately for first time players, which I understand that, but as for hardcore gamers like I do, why can't it just disable the forms of, you know, unable to actually use the specific super guide circle, because it just really distracts me when I was become, you know, hardcore gamer like I do, especially noticeable in Super Mario Bros. For instance. So, anyways, let's try this again. Okay. There we go. There we go. That's more like it. Oh, did I? Oh, come on. There we go. I almost got stuck then, but hey, at least we managed to got that out, quite frankly though, so, in your face, guide circular thing. And now let's move on to the last section, so, warp to World 8, so, World 8 already? I think it's most likely because it's more likely based off speedrun tactics, so, there we go then. Oh, wait, that was a bit of a pain sometimes, I will admit though right away. But, for the most part though folks, we've actually moving on to the final stage in Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels before we jump into Kid Icarus right about now. So let's see, I was off by 9 points left. God damn it. Oh well, last stage then. Stage number 7 is going to be basically it's focusing on many forms of just World 8. So of course we're going to be starting things off with Luigi obviously, so that's a big bonus for my ad, because you know, he jumps way higher than Mario does. That's for my curriculum for that point, for that perspective right there. So, oh yeah, I remember dreading this section right here, because even though I seriously cannot stand up the fact that I need to be really dang specific with those jumps, because if I manage to mess things up right here, then I could have potentially able to get my bad experience with skills like this. So, anyways though. Alright, there we go, that's that done. And now we move on to the final section in stage number 7, is to obviously defeat Bowser. So, let's see how this goes, hey? And that was a really bad start. Oh, jeez. Things doesn't go look that good though. Oh, how am I supposed to avoid him? I know I understand how the fact that you can able to actually walk underneath him, but some areas like this, but in forms of tossing those hammers right at me, I just don't know how do I supposed to avoid him like that. And there goes all of my hearts. Ah, that's a bit terrific. But hey, on the plus side though, is that you only get like 6 hearts on that specific challenge right there, so that's the only good thing, so... Anyways though, saving that note, what is this, like, the final ever challenge, in the original NES remakes all over again, but it forms of you have to tackle through 44 sections in collecting the Super Mushroom in the forms of Super Mario Bros. The original. Like, that can seriously goes like a marathon of syndrome, or in this case, a goblet. But, still, I can't deny by that, so... Anyways, let's try this again, and even then note that I wouldn't say this particular challenge wasn't nearly as long as far as I was hoping it would be, but even then I can get this stupid little hammer's hit detection right there, even the actual collision detection right there, and okay, let's just wait. I did not expect his patterns! Okay, so I'm presuming I need to able to walk down, so even then that would able to... Okay, I'm gonna stop doing that, because even though that just really distracts me, because even though that could potentially ruin my gaming experience, so... Alright, let's try this again. I've got 1 health left, so I'm hoping I won't die there. Please don't tell me there's gonna be a Hammer Bro right there. At least there is a red piranha plant and a buzzy beetles, which they aren't that bad. At least as far as my own circulations and all that. No! I was so close! Ah, damn you, Bowser! Damn you! Great, how do we do the entire mission again? Well, good thing is the fact that these segments aren't that long to begin with though, so son of a... What's going on with me? I have no idea why. Jeez. let's just get this game finished before we move on to the next game. Although, as far as for the actual Rainbow Stars ranking on this game, I just realized, much like the ones in Remakes 1, and especially noticeable in the forms of, Super Mario Bros. 3, we're actually doing pretty well. Sorry, I can't speak today. It's the fact that we're doing so well when it comes to the rainbow rankings on this particular game. There's only one stage left, or in this case 2 stages at the moment, so let's go ahead and just crawl underneath him, and boom! Eat that, you son of a gun! But there we go, that concludes Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels, or Super Mario Bros. 2 if those of you lived in Japan, so... And we're apparently going to be entering the store right there. And yeah, this is what I was talking about the forms of that specific stamp right there. Peace is saved, with Mushroom, or in this case with Kingdom saved. Hooray to Mario, our only hero. This ends your trip of a long friendship. And every time you beat the game, you get those additional points that's been added. So even then though, yeah, that's as far as I can majorly go for that point. So even then though, yeah. But anyways, this is what I was talking about when it comes to able to achieving that specific stamp of a different model of Peach. Because, that model's originated for the forms of this particular version of this game. I don't think on the Super Nintendo version or on the Super Mario All-Stars version doesn't have that different model of Peach though. It's just more accurately the exact same model as how it does in the forms of the original Super Mario Bros. Via the Super Mario All-Stars compilation game, so... I will say though, is that I do really love this music has been playing in the end though, because it's especially notable that, well, until in the future though anyway, when it gets to Boom Street / Fortune Street, if you those who lived in North America, thank God, Rainbow Stars on that. So there we go, we've pretty much done with Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels. So yeah, we're off by 1 stage left when it comes to getting the Rainbow Stars, but that was the forms of the very first stage. But we've got a warp pipe. I believe that's actually based off from, I'm assuming, Super Mario Bros. 3 or Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels. Correct me if I'm wrong, but even then, let me know in the comments below what that model's based off from. So, now let's move on to Kid Icarus, which even then, though, that, this game only has like 8 stages, just like the ones in Warriors Woods, for this matter. And let's get started. Collect 5 hearts by defeating enemies, so... This looks very interesting because it's almost like very similar to the likes of the Metroidvania style of gameplay, except the fact that, well, there are some occasional enemies that we actually did run into them, or in this case especially noticeable by the forms of the different item pickups, by the forms of if you obtain the harp, you have to gather 15 mallets, so, or, yeah, just mallets will do. Get to the exit. Okay, seems very self-explanatory right there. Of course, it's the first stage of the specific, Kid Icarus challenges after all, so things can get a little bit more simple, and, and we've made it, so how about that then, huh? So yeah, what if I first experienced by the forms of Kid Icarus, as far as the NES version is concerned? I first experienced this by the forms I've actually did downloaded this back in the day on Nintendo Wii's Virtual Console version. Although that wasn't the only time I've ever first experienced Kid Icarus. I think that honor goes to like similar to the ones in Super Mario Bros. 2 is the forms of the Masterpiece collections in the forms of the Super Smash Bros. Brawl's Masterpiece, because Super Smash Bros. Brawl introduces the Pit as a new fighter, so even then, that makes it pretty obvious with this little points, but even then, I still can't believe how the fact that, well, recently, that, Super Smash Bros. Brawl is actually now 10 years old now, at least specifically for all regions now, which, excluding, our country now, so, yeah, that's pretty shocking. At least despite the fact that it informs about a year ago, that me and Picklage did already tackle for Super Smash Bros. Brawl about a year ago because of, expecting that Super Smash Bros. For the Nintendo Switch should be expecting it to, which, thankfully though, it still usually arises, so even though, yeah. Okay, so this challenge right there can get pretty tricky sometimes because, first of all, the enemies keep on wandering around like nothing else, and second of all, Pit only has like 2 units of health, I just realized, because even then though, you can't afford to get hit twice, so yeah, that's probably the more difficult challenge to deal with, because even then I might ended up running into those guys so easily like this, so I'm assuming this game did, came out in 1986 as well. I'm assuming, I might be wrong about that, but even then, I'm also able to research on that, so just in case I've got myself the correct spawning date, whenever this game did first release. I do know there's actually a Game Boy sequel, by the forms of the Myth and Monsters, and in 2012, we've got is the forms of Kid Icarus Uprising, which is pretty understandable for these little kinds of stuff like that, and, thank you. Thank God I don't have to touch that objective again, because even though that can get kind of frustrating, I will admit though. And we've actually unlocked the one of the bonus stages, so yeah, how about that then, huh? And we've actually got ourselves the Fire Flower stamp that's actually based off from Super Mario Bros. 3, so as you expect it too. Okay, so apparently that, you know, I've already mentioned this before, that I was correct by the forms of Kid Icarus first released in the forms of 1986. Well, to be more specifically, in Japan's Famicom Disk System, because just like the ones in The Legend of Zelda, and even especially noticeable in Zelda 2 The Adventure of Link, which we'll get to that sooner or later, basically it does have some different sound effects, or alternative sound effects, so that makes it pretty obvious with this little standard few points. So, oh yeah, this is that's how we actually did manage to transform into an eggplant, but we've managed to able to recover it. Oh god, yeah, I failed so miserably. Oh well though, at least this challenge wasn't as long as it used to be though, so let's go ahead and transform back into the eggplant curse, and we can able to actually recover ourselves without touching for those dangerous hazards by the forms of this little, I'm assuming the red water, and especially noticeable with these little pokies things, so there we go, we managed to restore ourselves, so let's try this third section again. Alright, defeat the enemies without getting cursed. Oh, shoot. Seriously, what's wrong with my jumps inputs? Okay. There we go, that's one enemy down, and now let's go ahead and deal with the second enemy. And booyah, there we go. Please tell me I've got the rainbow star on that one, because if you didn't make me... Oh, thank you. I will admit though, this challenge might be slightly easier, but it might be a little bit more tricky sometimes because of all this platforming you have to deal with right there, so... And we've actually unlocked another bonus game, or in this case another game in the lineup. I'm presuming that's actually based off from hockey, because of, you know, some of these current stamps that we've actually got. Oh boy, we need to collect those hearts and able to actually purchase the Water of Life, because yes, just like the ones in the one of those challenges in the original Legend of Zelda game, that we have to go ahead and do some grinding by the forms of, well, this time around though, we only have to collect hearts, so rather than just rubies, so that's how it goes, hey. I will admit though, is that this mission can be tricky sometimes because of the, you know, enemies keep on wandering around all over the place, and even then, I think this will be a guarantee in how the fact that I'm probably not going to get a rainbow on that one, so there we go. We do need to require 210 hearts, which is quite a lot still, but even then though, that, yeah, nah, I didn't get the rainbow star on that one, so... I should probably state about this actually, is that the NES version of the forms of, oh, we got a Karibo shoe from, you know, Super Mario Bros. 3, so... Pretty obvious with this particular familiar item. Oh god, I hate these challenges. Get past the Reapers without being spotted. I hate these challenges in a huge passion, because if you manage to get spotted by the forms of the Reapers, as you can see right there, then you pretty much fudged up. So even then, if you manage to able to do that, well, it's all about stealth sequence, I will admit though. I understand that, because it's all about stealth sequences, but most of the time you won't get caught by these guys so easily, mainly due to the this Reapers, if you couldn't tell right there, so... Anyways though, I should probably say this right now, is the fact that this game did release in forms of, in the English version of this game on the NES, Master came out in 1987, which is about the exact same year as the PAL version of, you know, the original Super Mario Bros. Games released. So, yeah, that's as far as I can usually just say about this, as far as that's been concerned of. So, there we go, we've done stage 5, and sadly, I still haven't got the, well, the rainbow stars on that one, so... Oh well, that's a lot of a puny right there. And now let's move on to the 6th stage, so let's see how this holds. Hit the statue with B to save the, well, Surturian. So I think this is one of those enslavements, so yeah, that's as far as I can usually say about this here, so... Oh, jeez. I might as well... Yeah, it's got hit right there. Oh, jeez. So yeah, I'm assuming that much like the ones in Kirby's Adventure, also, this game did also get ourselves the 3D Classics edition, but in forms of, you know, the 3DS eShop download versions on this, because it just makes everything in 3D and all that stuff, which can be the same applies to how it does in Kirby's Adventure, by the way, so even though I do give that game, you know, these versions credits too, so even though I might as well give those, versions a chance on the 3DS, but we don't know exactly for sure though, I will admit though, but and of course I have to redo the entire objective again because I seriously got screwed over by... It's really unfair that you can't able to deal enemies with the mallets because you all you have to do to deal with enemies is just bow and it's just the bow itself. Or in this case the bow of light, so I digress. But even then, as long as we take the invincibility frames as you can see right there, we should be able to be fun enough. So let's see how well I did. Thank you for that rainbow stars. 264 stars, so not too shabby. So even then, we've still got all the way to go. And we've got ourselves the boo stamp. So yeah, from, you know, Super Mario Bros. 3. So, stage number 7. I'm assuming this is actually based off defeating all sorts of bosses. Defeat Twin Bellows. Which, thankfully, these guys aren't that hard to deal with right there. Especially notable these Slavemans comes into play. Defeat Hudro, or Hudro, I should say for this much. This enemy does remind me of the enemy from or this boss rather. This boss does remind me of that one boss in the forms of the Legend of Zelda. I keep saying the Legend of Zelda for some reason. Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link. Seriously, I'm gonna have to get used to that for that point. But the only thing that makes it trickier though is the fact that if you touch one of those, I'm assuming these are lava pits or something like that. But if you accidentally touch the, I'm assuming the red water, or I can't really tell with this little translation, because even then it's so hard to tell from a visual cue or something. So, the final part is just basically defeat, Pandora, so even though he's pathetically easy, as long as you're able to aim your, you know, bow of light properly, so there we go. So, god dang it! I was so close to getting rainbow stars on that specific stage, but hey, at least we can able to come back to that until the rainbow stars run through, so that's okay. So, final stage in Kid Icarus. I can't believe it's going really fast. And that's we have to defeat the final boss in Kid Icarus, and that's the forms of defeating Medusa. So, let's see how she goes, because I can definitely tell that how the fact that Medusa was actually a female of any kinds, because normally Medusa only has like the you know, these little snake heads, which as far as I can definitely tell from that point of view. So, basically in this final boss right there is the fact that we need to able to shot her eye, so even then that deals the damage. But, as you can tell right there, the fact that my, why I keep on attacking a lot is most likely because of how the fact, I don't know if you've noticed for this point folks, but, you know, because of how the fact that my Roxo Game Capture HD Pro does not capable of the forms of the screen flickering, I should probably imagine saying that. But, hey, at least we can now see the projectiles now, because even then, back in my first attempt on this, I did not expect that those projectiles exist on the capturing footage. Well, I can't see them visibly, but in forms of the actual playing this on the TV or what have you. But, it's just how the fact that with this weird emulation stuff, but in forms of, you know, capture cards to be like that it normally sometimes flickering some stuff and all that stuff, because one of those projectiles but in forms of Medusa is doing, that can cause the flickering, so even though that can be a little bit more, well, a little bit odd or insanity. So yeah, you see right there, the footage it speaks for itself. The projectiles doesn't show up in this footage, because even then though, that as long as you play this on the TV, you can definitely see the projectiles right there, because even though because of the weird visual cue or something, but in forms of, you know, capture cards, and I have to restart that. Okay, if you probably did not know how many attempts I've actually got to this point, this might actually be my 15th attempt to do this, because Jesus Christ, this final boss right here is probably the most toughest boss I've ever have to face. Because even then, I've already explained this about quite a few times, is that obviously we do need to aim her eye right there. But even then, that it takes a lot of insanity of the forms of some of these heads I need to able to hit her eye. And then as a result though, it can take a lot of time to able to actually hit her. I mean, this guy is monotonous. But even then though, that you're probably gonna lose at least one continuing while battling this particular final boss. Or in this case, if you become a pro like I just did right there. And, well, Medusa is history. So there we go. I believe we actually rescued Lady Palatina, because I can definitely tell for the actual plot of this particular game is that it's up to Pit to able to rescue Lady Palatina from the Sky World, and we've actually transformed into our grown-up of ourselves. So I'm not sure why, how we actually become smaller to begin with, but that's how it usually goes. So there we go. That concludes Kid Icarus. Yeah, doing so far so well in this particular game. Sure, it's a bit difficult at first, but even then, though, that I'm not, it's not exactly a perfect run through, because even then, though, that we've off by a few stages when it comes to Rainbow Stars on that one, but at least we'll still come back to Rainbow Stars until another time. So we have a cheap jump from, you know, Super Mario Bros. 3. Speaking of Super Mario Bros. 3, or in this case Mario for that matter, just need to count how many Rainbow Stars I was off by. Let's see. Actually, I might as well able to actually save that for a later time. But for now, I'm also able to do one more level in the forms of Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels, because I just feel like getting the Rainbow Stars on that one specific stage, because thankfully we've only have to deal with one stage in Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels to able to actually just go ahead and achieve the Rainbow Stars on that specific stage, because even then, though, that these stages aren't that long compared to the ones in the Super Mario Bros. The original, and especially noticeable in The Legend of Zelda the originals as well. So yeah, that's as far as I can usually say about this here. So yeah, I just don't know why I just keep on restarting for this particular challenge right there, because, well, as far as I'm aware, because there's not much else to commentate on, because obviously there's not much else to can tell for this point. So yeah, so let's go ahead and just do a much better runs right there. Sometimes I occasionally slip up, but in forms of that specific sections right there. Specifically collecting the power-ups most likely, because even I know there were a few times though the level design is actually just almost throws me off at one point. So that's all I can really say about this here. And stupid Bowser. Jeez. Yeah, I'm really sick of getting hit by certain Bowser encounters, or even especially noticeable by the forms of these certain ridiculous enemy placement can be at times, and even then, no, that's as far as I can tell. But there we go, please be a Rainbow Star, please. And there we go, we've actually 100% everything in Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels, or in this case Super Mario Bros. 2 in Japan, so there we go, we've managed to 100% that, and we've actually rainbowed everything in the Lost Levels, so you know, similar to the ones in Remix 1 stages, and especially in Super Mario Bros. 3, as you can see right there. We've actually gone through 3 of those, well, outline rainbow stuff, but in forms of certain catalogs. So yeah, pretty awesome and fantastic. So let's see what stamps, how many stamps I've got. And it looks like we've only collected 9 of them, so we've almost there to be able to get to towards the end with the forms of the actual stamps collection, because we've only got I would say 21 stamps left, which has gone pretty fast though, because of the addition to that, you know, the rainbow ranking that you get, that it gives you like 200 points. It was actually really easy to grind for some points there. But anyways though, I'm gonna have to end things off at this point here, so join me next time on Let's Play NES Remix 2. It's the fact that we're going to be tackling through also the most difficult games of the lineup, which are Zelda 2 The Adventure of Link and Punch-Out for the NES. So yeah, see you guys next time. Later fellas.